All right, folks, welcome to the live stream. Apologies for the delay, but we'll take, if we need 15 minutes or 20 minutes from the closing hour, we can do that. Let's begin right here, right away. If you can hear me fine, you see the picture fine. We're looking at the cues, the 3 minutes chart right now. Just a little feedback in the comment section. Let's begin right away. Okay, good. So let's begin here. You might have heard the commentary from Bostic and the other Fed zombies saying that they might pause at this point. Impact right here is 10-year yield. You see, we're still higher, but as I said, it's going to be really hard to push it, to keep pushing it here at this point without a pullback. You also got jobless claims coming out weaker, so I anticipate they're going to pull back in the 10-year and the 30-year too. And that's going to have an impact in the market. 30 is breaking out, but again, really hard to keep going here. The Dixie, it's probably the same phenomenon. So this is why, if you look at the Dixie, and we talked about this yesterday, folks, the market will kind of anticipate these moves ahead of time and position before it. So they're anticipating that the dollar could be due for a pullback, and this is why you see, for example, GDX, nice pop off the lower Bollinger Bands, GLD getting a little bit of a pop, SLV, all of these dollar-sensitive stuff also popping. FCX, Freeport Copper, also moving higher. Look at the fertilizers, that's also dollar-sensitive, also trading higher for the day. You look at the energy, that's also moving higher for the day. Chemicals, if you'd like, a little bit, but they were performing much better in the morning. Allen is the one that I like here, holding the 20. So for now, the dollar-sensitive stuff is rebounding, as to say that, look, the dollar is going to pull back. It's just too much in a short amount of time. Now, the yield-sensitive stuff, since yields were also anticipating perhaps a pullback, the defensive's not doing pretty good today. The XLV yesterday we did pretty good. Now it's holding at the 20 here. If you look at the risk on IWM, that's not doing better either. So, but again, you got to look at this guy right here and just anticipate that you're going to get a pullback. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow because of the PPI, Producer Price Index, coming out, let's say, as expected or whatever, and they drop yields because of that. Because remember, now it's a digestion process. Do you go with the story of inflation coming back in the CPI, or it's not really coming back, but sticky, and will come back because today, you look at, we're closing at 80 in Brent, and that's just going to continue with the geopolitics and all of that. I mean, you look at this chart right here, gasoline. We talked about this. Let's look at it right here. RBOB, this is one of the best chart, really looking charts right now. It breaks this range right here, and it's going to go for the races immediately. In higher gasoline prices, that's going to ensure that we have higher inflation in the next few readings. Or do you go with the jobless claims that the economy is weakening when they got jobs report that came out, the cooked one, of course, came out pretty good. So lots of confusion for the market to look forward to. But my 2 cents, we see a pullback in yields. And that's not going to be good for the risk on stuff because we still got this little bit of recession worry from the jobless claims we've got to worry about. So the XHB continues to go down, in my opinion. IWM continues to go down. But you might see rebounds in the defensive yield-sensitive stuff like the IYR, which is already kind of at the lower Bollinger Bands, the XLP, the XLV, that kind of stuff. Now, as far as the big caps, that's a VIX-related thing. The big caps and the indices, for that matter, it's a VIX-related thing. So the hourly, we're keeping the trend line. You see the hourly here, bearish momentum, now beginning to shift into bullish. And when you see that, you have to be careful because we see pops in the VIX. And if this doesn't roll over at the closing hour, then the VIX will probably make it above 2145. And that's going to pull us back in the big caps. As you can see here, we kind of stalled at the top from Wednesday. And the Qs and the SPY, same phenomenon. Also stalling here, but keeping the breakout for now. Keeping the breakout. It's a digestions thing. But the most important thing, folks, is we're going to head toward earnings. All of the calculation and consideration will be about earnings from this point on. But I'm not seeing anything for me today to change anything in my formation, to open new things. I'm not seeing anything here today for me to do anything new. I mean, even the Bitcoin, Bitcoin is moving with higher velocity now. Maybe 56,500 becomes a target. Let's see if we have a reaction for MicroStrategy. Maybe so. Maybe Mister will be something because you got a topping candle here followed by confirmation. Maybe you want to take a shot. Gotta remember that these puts are really expensive though. So if you want to be on the safe side and track Bitcoin, pure tracking of Bitcoin, go with Beto. It'll be cheaper to have the put options, and the target would be at least retesting this trend line. So 16.5, 16 would make sense for shorting Beto. Or if you want to grab the shares, go with BD. Just buy the shares, $7.99 right now. You get another ride out of it. Last thing I want to talk about is the Chinese stuff. I think we might be ready to begin buying again, because if you look at the weekly chart right here, okay, we got a whack. We cool off a little bit. I don't anticipate they're going to go to races again, but we're going to begin to stabilize, at least in BABA and the respective ETFs. But like I said, 3 days, so this is day number 3. Let's wait and see what happens with options expiration tomorrow, because that's going to scramble things out too. And then Friday, if we don't see breaking the lows in the FXI, for example, the lows are still intact, then we'll continue to buy the Chinese names. In this case, if you missed something, like you say, you like Win, maybe you'll begin to buy that. But right now, just give it one more day before we do that. And of course, our confirmation, XLE Energy. Closing positive today, and if we close positive, I think that's a confirmation that energy goes higher, China follows after that. You got USO, you're doing pretty good for now. Retouched, so we have the initial A, B, C leg should take us above here, so 80 should be the next target for the USO. Not sure if it's going to happen tomorrow. We'll do a lotto. Okay, we'll buy 80 for tomorrow, just as a lotto. If it hits, we would get paid big if there's an attack overnight. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but the serious trade should be for next week. Aim for Wednesday, for Friday, and we buy the 80 for the USO. But anyhow, these are my notes for you, folks. Let's see what you got here. I checked the IWM flows and decided to add the 212 puts expiration November 1st. What's your opinion, Mehmet? Okay, let's look at this here. I agree with you from a fundamental perspective. I do agree with you that with yields going higher and inflation now being sticky, I think that the IWM should make it if we clean up this chart right here, because you got resistance, meaning support, resistance to your trade, support to the chart, which is the lower Bollinger Band. So it could be a little bit frustrating, but I think we should make it all the way down to the trend line right here. That's going to take you to 210, 211. So the trade makes sense, but just be sure that for jittery stuff that could happen tomorrow, maybe you want to add this, since you have November 1st, maybe you want to add some hedge to it here, and you go with TZA puts for tomorrow, and you grab really cheap ones at the 14 level, just in case they screw around or they pump it higher for whatever reason. You got that protection. So yeah, I'll go with it, but have a hedge for tomorrow. Because the PPI is coming out tomorrow, and they could give us a weaker PPI, and then they drop the yields, and they push the IWM. You know the deal. So just have that protection for tomorrow. Senior Spooky, RTX 125.30 calls November 1st. Think about doubling down. Or buying the shares at 130, but worried if Israel doesn't have brass balls. They gotta have to hit, okay? And they will hit. And the more it takes, I mean, think about what they said yesterday. Lethal. That's the key word. Somebody's gonna die. So there's an assassination in that package that they've came up with. And Iranians also beginning to threat that if the Arab countries use their airspace to hit, they're going to hit back. And right now with RTX, the concern for me, though, is if we go down the trend line, if there's no attack tomorrow and they decide to sell it before the end of the week and we go down to the trend line. So the 125, 130 in that case will be way out of the money at that point, and it's going to require the hit to happen next week for you to be back. So maybe, in this case in RTX, if you actually want to buy the stock, you need to think about in the money kind of call options, 118, 120, that would do 120, 125, or 120, 130. So you talked about the 125, 130 that you got. Problem with that is if you get a big pop, if you're betting on a big pop in RTX because of the escalation in the Middle East, you need to give yourself a wider delta just to maximize those gains. So I would go to the 15. I'd go with 120 and then sell the 130. And that way I'm spending about $400 to make 500, which is double. And you can see that the premiums are high here. The implied volatility is higher than usual in RTX because everybody's anticipating that to happen. If you want to go for a shorter expiration date, but again, what is the point when you're spending just a few more? So I would do it that way. And if you close above 130, 125, if there's a hit, you can buy the stack of 120. Pricey, but there's a reason behind it. You're not the only one betting on upside for RTX. Marv, you're late. Yeah, I'm late because anyways, it was a rough day. IWM 215 puts expiration tomorrow. Would you keep as a lotto? IWM 215. Look, you scored. I'm assuming that you scored some gains today. And like I said, you have the PPI. They might screw with you tomorrow. So if you keep it, I would say add that TZA put with it. Okay, that it cost you $8 to enter that trade. But if let's say if you're making profits over 20-25% today, I'd take the profit for now. I will probably go with a longer expiration date in the IWM because, see, this guy here is going to roll over, right? And if it rolls over, then we're talking about a failure in this pattern where you kind of formed higher lows and it appeared that you're going to form higher highs, but there was a failure and you're going to test the lows again at least. And that's going to take you to the 210, 208 range. So I'd rather that I close it, book the profit, and then aim for something higher. But if you keep it just in case they screw around tomorrow, grab those TZA puts. Okay, what about the PFE trade? Anything change after today's report? Well, today we got some bad news that former Pfizer executives in the activist investor who's taken a position in Pfizer got kicked out, basically. And there's kind of a dispute, and this is why it went down. What I'm looking for is I want to see this right here being held, this low that we got today. So that's 29, 28. And if it is, so not today, perhaps tomorrow, if we get a rebound again in Pfizer, I'll be adding to that position because the goal is to buy the stack at 30. But if we break below these lows, then we got another problem. We have something changing in the story of the activist. But right now, I would say if we hold the lows, and we rebound tomorrow, I'll be adding again to this position. And hopefully in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll be above 30 and just buy the stack at 30. So this is more of you want to own the stack using the call options, not a trading thing. Because Pfizer is a slow mover, low beta. So it doesn't make the sexiest options trade. But if you want to look for something that could be coming back here, look at Merck. This guy may be a little oversold here. It's going to begin to make its way higher. Too early to say, but as a trader, maybe I would go with Merck or even Eli Lilly versus Pfizer, because Pfizer is way too slow to move. So Eli Lilly will probably be a reversal from this kind of bullish breather above the 20 to go down back to the lower Bollinger Bands. So you probably want to go with the 900 and sell the 870, that kind of thing. So you have a lot of options in healthcare besides Pfizer. But if you want to own it, let's see tomorrow what happens. If we see a rebound, I'll be adding to it again. Man, thoughts on the TLT? We should see a bit of a rebound soon. Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, I agree with you that yields went a little too high in a short amount of time. So for me, if I'm going to play a lotto tomorrow, I'm going to bet on, let's clean this up here. I'm going to bet on sort of a falling wedge in the TLT and a rebound tomorrow. So I'm going to go with the TLT lotto ticket for tomorrow, which is going to be the 11th. And I'm going to go with the calls. And I think that the PPI could be the catalyst, okay? They could give us a cooked PPI or whatever. They show that the PPI is not a problem. And all of a sudden now we have to drop yields down. So it's the 94. It cost us about 28 cents a piece. So we'll do that, 28 cents a piece. And again, any rebound, let's say tomorrow, any pop higher in TLT, we're not going to do 5. Okay, well, let's do like 1% of those. So if we pop half a percentage point and above, we'll be making profits on this guy. So 94, if you want to be a little safe, you go to the 14th just to give you a little more time, but the 11th would do. The 11th would do for the TLT. So I agree with you. Yeah, I think that we have a rebound coming tomorrow in the TLT. Looking for Microsoft 420, 1018. You still bullish ahead of earnings? Calls 420 Microsoft. Because the big caps don't really care about CPI or any of that. The big caps care about the hedging of the VIX, and before earnings you will see a little bit of at least the shorts. I mean, think about Microsoft here. Lots of shorting, right? Before earnings, you're probably going to see some covering. So this is why I want to stick with Microsoft here to see a little more covering before this report comes out. And then we book before the report. So yeah, I'm still with the calls here in Microsoft. I think they're going to play out because now after we're done with the PPI tomorrow, we'll be all in with earnings. And next week, you'll see even more setting up pre-earnings setting ups because this is going to come out. Let's see here, not next week, but the 22nd. So next week will be a lot of preparation for that report. And I think they're going to cover some of these shorts right here. Okay, let's do Tommy T. The market closed Monday. It's not closed Monday. The bond market is closed Monday, not the stock market, though. Yeah, David Farmer, Pfizer, like I said, if we don't break the lows, we're okay. We're just going to add to it tomorrow. And I think I said that when I opened, right? When I opened the trade, I said, look, this is going to be an increment because you probably want to add to it later. Because you stack up 3%, any bad news, you pull it back right away. Mav, glad you're feeling better. Can you give us an example of hedging 500 shares FPHYS with SLV? How to set that? I looked at that question in the Top Gun Q&A, and it's in the video, okay? It's in the video. It should come out tomorrow. So we'll do Top Gun Q&A videos every Friday. If you have an immediate question that needs to be taken care of right away, then you have the chat channel, you have the live stream. But if you have a question like this, because this requires showing you examples and the setup and all of that, and I already did work on it. So we'll do that tomorrow. And yeah, I think you're going to have a clear idea what to do and how to hedge your physical gold using silver, or even give you examples with the GDX too. So we'll do that in the video tomorrow. Hisham, have you hedged Dell shorts? If so, what options did you use? So the options that we talked about yesterday, which is the 30. So we're above 123, right? So we want to go with the 130 that we talked about yesterday. 130 will give you enough coverage that if you pass the high here, 127, at least you make some profits off the calls. And if it reverses later on before 127, then so be it. But at least you make some money from the 130s. So it's the 130. We're not going to go too far. We just need to October 18th next week because we'll see some earnings coming out. So it's the 130. And again, Dell is a higher beta. So we'll go 130. Costs us about, right now, I mean, yesterday it cost a lot less, but right now it costs, but let's say 115, 116. And that's going to be the hedge for now. Basically, we're looking for, if there's a big pop in a short amount of time, that 130 is going to protect the position. You can get at 130. If not, if there's a reversal, then no harm done. We're only spending about $120 here. For the USO, I have tomorrow 78, down 50%. Is it worth holding? Should I sell the 79? That's a tough one because if you don't get the hit tomorrow or overnight, you're probably not going to make it, okay? I'm going to buy the lotto for the 80. That's going to be really speculative lotto. So you're at 78, but you probably bought right here, right? So that's why you're down 50%. It's really hard to come back without averaging down, right? Without averaging down, it's really hard to come back. So I would say you hold it, and then if tomorrow we get a pop and you're at 78 or above, you probably then you want to sell something as a call above it, 80 or 81 after the pop. But if you do it right now, you're not going to get a lot of premium out of it. Let's see here. If we do USO for tomorrow and we sell, you have the 78, if you sell the 80, you might net about 42 cents, but then you can limit your gains for $2. So if that's okay with you, do it. Sell the 80 and just be limited here for this trade 40 cents will knock your loss by about, let's say, 40 to 30% that you got. The 50% will be reduced by about 40 to 50%. And then you want to go with something more serious. If we have a pop tomorrow, you want to go with, let's say, the 18th. And at that point, we'll be at the 80 above if we get a pop tomorrow. And you see the demand here for 85. Folks are going beyond 80. I mean, 80 is the most popular for the 16th. For the 18th, it's the 85. So there is demand here. And I would say if this was my trade, I would sell the 80, have the 78. In that way, if I can make $2 out of the trade, fine. And then I'm going to roll to another expiration date. Now, of course, the only thing you got to keep in mind here, if we have a hit overnight, what if we see a pop to 82 and 83? Now you limited yourself, right? So the best way to go about it is for this trade, sell the 80, then go to the 18s and buy the 80, or the 23rd and buy the 85 if you'd like. Go a little further. If you're worried about, hey, a pop might happen overnight. But if you have any XLE positions, if you have Oxy, if you have Exxon, that's going to cover you. Okay, if you have gold, that's going to cover you. So for now, I would just sell the 80 to be, at least give the trade a chance of closing flat or positive tomorrow, and then we'll focus on buying more in tomorrow's session. USO at 80 tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to buy these lotto tickets. I think it's the 80 right now for the USO would be about 40 cents. So that's what you're going to sell, though. I'm going to be buying this from you if you sell it in your trade. So, but the beauty of this guy, if we get a pop tomorrow and we're above 80, then we could make triple digits right away. And again, this is 3%, 4% of the USO. This is not out of the ordinary recently. I mean, today it's up about 3.25%. So can we get another 3.25% or 4%, 5% tomorrow? We'll make big bucks. That's the beauty of a lotto. Mav, don't worry about being late. Should we cut NVIDIA spreads? Was too brave. NVIDIA spreads, which one you got? Which one do you got? Because I got an NVIDIA spread yesterday and I closed it at a profit. Not much, 24%, but I did close this at a profit. But right now, you're stuck in this range right here. NVIDIA, I mean, if you look at the flows, there are insane flows for the calls. I mean, somebody's going big here. I don't know who that somebody is, but they're going big. And if you look at these amounts right here, maybe they closed some of them recently. So I'll be watching this really carefully because they buy. I mean, look at this, $12 million selling the puts. But let's look at the buys here. You see these millions and millions and millions of dollars showing up right away. Look at this. I mean, look at all of this for 25. It's insanity. Who's doing all of this stuff? This is institutional manipulation, basically, of the stock. Or somebody who has a lot of money and they're just gambling here. But are they the same folks who are also selling at the end here? Right? Because the 25 being closed, see 5 million being closed. Not a lot of them, not seeing all of them here. One of them, 150 being closed. But if they begin to close these insane amount of calls that they bought in the morning, that'll be a sign that they're done. They're just pumping, dumping, and you might want to hold in these put spreads that you got. If you got the 130, you got a chance. You got lower than 130, I'm not sure about that. And there is risk, of course, that NVIDIA can go higher, but it is already at the outside of the Bollinger Bands. So I find it hard to believe that it's going to pop another 3, 4, 5% right off the gate. It either consolidates a little bit without a pullback, that's going to be a bullish sign that it's going to release that energy higher, or it begins to pull back and try to fill this gap right here. And remember, tomorrow's options expiration. What do you think people did here? They bought a lot of calls. We have a lot of 140s, a lot of 135, a lot of 130. The market maker will try to knock some of these off the table by dropping NVIDIA tomorrow. So again, if you have the 135, 130, I would say keep it. I think you get a score tomorrow based on the market maker activities. Okay, let's do here. Hey, Mav, what are your thoughts on HAL compared to Oxy? They're going to move together, but if you want to look at the fundamental analysis of which one is doing better than the other, I mean, it's almost identical looks. It comes down to preference and what do you like in the dividend, right? So here in Halliburton, the dividend is 2.25. In Oxy, I think it's a little lower, about 1.5. Folks love Oxy because of Buffett. Buffett will continue to buy. That's the assumption. But at the end of the day, Oxy is a little more limited in the production than Halliburton. Halliburton is a little more widespread. They have multiple operations across the world versus Oxy, which is a little more limited. It comes to preference. Is the Buffett factor matters to you? If it doesn't, then you just go with Halliburton, because if we look at the performance here, let's see who's been outperforming. Oxy versus Hal. And we do the same scale. Let's zoom in to, let's say, recently, because we want to see who's been outperforming recently since the drop right here. And I think the charts speak the loudest. Halliburton is the outperformer, so if that's what you want to go with, you go with Halliburton if the Buffett factor is not important to you. Another consideration, by the way, is Devon. Devon is also way underpriced right now, and Devon is kind of outperforming both. So you might want to go with Devon also as a consideration. So let's look at the chart here. Devon, goodbye, and it looks like Devon may be breaking out earlier than all of them. So you see here sort of, right, inverse on his shoulder. The bands are expanding, so it's beginning to look pretty good here. It depends on preference at the end of the day. They're all going to move. If crude oil is moving higher, they'll move higher too. But Devon can blast all the way to the upper Bollinger Bands here, to the 50s, close to the lower 50s. And here, the dividend would give you 4.25. And this is why I prefer Devon. If you don't have a position already in Oxy, Buffett factor doesn't matter to you, think about Devon here as a competitor to Hal and Oxy. Okay, on the XLE, 11-191 calls, sell or keep holding. 91 at November. I'll keep it. I think we closed the gap. I mean, right now we got the recovery, nice rebound off where we're supposed to rebound. If you look at crude oil, we got a rebound exactly where we wanted to rebound, the 50, and we're coming back. And I think that as we get to the weekend and the anticipation of the hit, they'll buy it more. So let's stick with the XLE for now. If you're nervous about it, sell some diagonal spreads on it. Right? Sell the, let's see if we can capture, because all of them are right now are overpriced in terms of options, because folks are anticipating oil to pop. So if we look at the XLE, maybe if you go to the 18th, you can sell the 95, right? And you capture about 50 cents, or the 94. Only problem is it's going to limit your gains if there's a big pop. And right now, if I look at the XLE, I mean, I've seen as far as 99 being bought. Now, to be realistic, folks, we have Bollinger Bands resistance, so a pop tomorrow could lead us all the way to 94, 95, and then next week it could expand. So that's the only thing about it that I don't like. My 2 cents, keep it as it is. Stay confident. I think you got the right trade here. Stay confident. No need to be overthink it here. Okay, would you lotto Tesla for tomorrow's expiration? Let's look at Tesla here. I think it broke down, at least earlier in the morning it did. So clean, there we go. But we got a rebound, right? So we got, I don't know if the event is behind us already. I think it's already out, right? Tesla providing, okay, that's not important. But look, since we got demand showing up here, tough to fight this narrative, because there's, as with NVIDIA, there's that call options activities that just show up in Tesla right away. And they might have built up a huge call position to the point where the market maker has to cover for it. This is why I would say it's risky for tomorrow to do the lotto. If you want to do a lotto for tomorrow, think about TLT. Okay, so think about the TLT rebound. I think you'll have a better chance with TLT rebound than Tesla. Okay, let's do AVGO. Any trigger for capitulation tomorrow, next week? Exxon, would you recommend covered calls if you plan to exit this month? AVGO. AVGO is actually looking the best among the chip components because it is breaking out. So I think that the wave is coming to an end, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to make higher highs. But it is, since it is breaking out here in AVGO, I don't want to pick against it. But pick against the weak in chips. And today, I think if we look at the full, Micron got some news from. So yesterday we talked about this phenomenon. The inverse happened. AMD's event came out. AMD now down 4%. Micron up about 4% because they say that they have demand for memory. But Micron came out and they showed that demand is plateauing. So who do you trust here? I think at the end of the day, AVGO still strong. I don't want to pick on it. But ARM also looks readying to kind of break above that 151.76. So if you want to go bullish, something in the chips, I would go with, clean this up right here, I would go with ARM calls. Okay, I would go ARM calls and bet for a break here to the upside. Now, if you want to go or short something, think about Taiwan. Taiwan maybe here kind of stalling at a bearish pattern. It begins to break to the downside. So Taiwan may be the one that's supposed to go down. But again, I mean, you could chase AMD here and say that it's reversing. Got it. It makes sense. But a reminder, down 4 or 5%, meaning that the possibility of a rebound tomorrow, highly possible. So you need to enter via increments. Same thing with Pfizer, up 4% yesterday, down today. So when you see something moving big, you're going to use increments. So I'm with you if you want to go AMD shorts, but just make sure it's a starting position right now. As far as Micron, to be honest with you, I'd fade this. I'd fade the rip right now. Not today, but tomorrow. But for now, if I had to pick one trade on the chips, I would go ARM calls. And here it is. We'll go to the 18th. We're not going to too far. We're just going to do 150 and then sell the 160. Spending 3 to make 600. Go to the 25 just to give us a little more time. They're all expensive, but again, I think that if ARM breaks, it's going to break big, and this trade could be profitable. If you want to wait for confirmation, wait for a close above 151.76, because that was the resistance before, support before. So we know a break above will release all of that energy. You see here the indicators getting positive. And let's be honest here, folks, as we head to the earnings season, who's likely to, let's say, what kind of moves are likely? Folks selling these shares before earnings because they can buy puts on them, move the VIX higher, and hedge that way? Or is it going to be folks who are short these names getting out of these positions and covering those positions? I think that the latter is more appropriate. So you're probably going to see technology and the big caps, the stuff that was lagging in the summer, beginning to catch some short covering, beginning tomorrow into next week before the big earnings come out. And then, depending on Microsoft, we begin to pull back. So I see a little window of opportunity here where we see some short covering in the big caps and the chips. I appreciate your video and the themes, but it is difficult to figure out what theme we are on. Yeah, I mean, think about this week alone. Technology was in the beginning, then now we're flipping back to the inflation theme, right? Where we see copper, we see energy outperforming today. Matter of fact, if we look at the groups, energy number one, metals number one, and you see technology going red. So today it's inflation. For the week, at least beginning of the week, it was more of AI theme. So flipping from theme to theme to theme, and that's why I said if you have overlapping themes, you'll be fine in your portfolio, because if something doesn't work out today, it works out in another theme. We can expand on that conversation in the video again. But let's do Palantir. Entered the 11:15 puts yesterday, today. It has to be the most draining put position or option. Any chance for some profit near term? Look, I don't want to fight it because we still have demand with a lot of retail investors chasing this guy. It's going to drop big, okay? It's going to drop big, but understand when they stampede to buy these call options, the market maker has to account for them. So the market maker is buying. Can we get a pullback tomorrow just to knock some of the excessive call options buying outside of the money? Yes, I think we could get a pullback tomorrow. But you don't want to be too aggressive with this guy. You don't want to go 36, 32, or 20s. It's just going to be a pullback here where the market maker kind of knocks some of the high volume in, let's say, the 42 and above in the calls. That's about it. It's going to have its day in court because the valuation doesn't make sense at all. But it's going to be in time. I mean, you look at Supermicro, that guy was going crazy, right? Didn't make sense. But we began to see stuff like this, warning signs, big shoot downs, right? Lower high beginning to show up right here, right? So you look at these signs, and if here lower high again, right? Then you begin to enter the shorts. Some of us can time it pretty good and get in early. Some of us have to see more signs before we get in. But at the end of the day, overvaluation ends up the same way. Stocks correct to the proper valuation in time. but you don't want to short right here when things are getting squeezed and the volume is showing up. And I think we're seeing the same phenomenon right now in Palantir, where the volume is showing up and we see demand still going hot, but it's going to have its day in court. Maybe the earnings will be the catalyst. Just wait for those signs to go aggressive on Palantir. For now, it's a pullback. That's what I'm looking for. Stefan, looking to go back into the VIX calls. Should I start building my position today and add it tomorrow after the data comes out, or wait for the PPI? Look, usually we have VIX, crush the VIX Fridays. I say usually. Now, and this is why I would say that maybe you want to wait till tomorrow before you buy the calls, because you might see a gap down. If there's no hit by Israel, you see maybe a gap down, and then it recovers. On the other hand, like I said, I don't want to keep you out of the trade, because if you're just trading based on the 1 hourly momentum, it is saying you should be buying right now because we have bullish momentum playing out as we speak. To me, I want to see an hourly closing above 21.45. You know why? Because it was rejection right here, and then struggled right here, rejection right here, right? So almost rejection right here. So I want to see it closing above 21.45 on an hourly basis, and then I would say, okay, got it. Now I'm actually going to play perhaps the 4 hours chart. We see a rebound here, and momentum begins to accelerate back to bullish. And we see a rebound, retest to the highs. So if it was for me, I'd wait till tomorrow. But hey, if you're trading the hourly, maybe you start small in case you have a big pop tomorrow, overnight. Okay, tomorrow night's Yom Kippur in Israel. Very unlikely Israel will act before then, so unlikely USO will be affected by something happening. But remember, they say it's surprising, right? So it might be Yom Kippur, and nobody's anticipating it's going to happen, but it happens on that day. There's an element of surprise that they want to have with this hit. Maverick, one more question. Thoughts on Humana? I know you thought it was good. I didn't say it's good. I just said it's oversold. Okay, if you want to buy insurance companies, you go with UNH. But Humana, I mean, it's stalling right now. Is it a buying opportunity? Frankly speaking, you might get lucky to close the gap, but since it took too long and buyers didn't show up, I'm just not seeing the buying appetite here. I think this guy, if anything, as it goes higher, you'll find more sellers or holding bags coming out of the name. So Humana is not my favorite. If you want to buy insurance companies right now, UNH is the one to go with. I mean, it's been consolidating here for a while. I think it's going to release that energy to the upside. Maybe you want to wait till this catalyst is out of the way, but my 2 cents would say that UNH, if it wanted to pull back, it would have pulled back a long time ago. So it's just getting out of this consolidation for years, and they're probably going to release the energy to the upside. And speaking of insurance, by the way, we'll see what happens with Florida, but Travelers, all of these guys are looking okay today. A little bit of a reversal here, so you might want to look at the insurance ETF. This guy, KBWP, maybe you can pick a short in this guy because the claims are going to skyrocket in Florida. 2 hurricanes. Sure, the premiums will go higher, but that's a long-term catalyst that's already priced in, I would say. And now the insurance companies, finally, they're going to be on the hook to pay for something. So I think that maybe you want to think about shorting this guy a little bit here for a trade, and then going along the health insurance in UNH. Okay, you are saying you're expecting USO to pop again tomorrow. I have 77 calls, expiration date 11. Roll the next week. I have the same one, okay? So I have the 77 for tomorrow, which I'm holding a bag in it again because I bought it when we were here. And we went down. Now we're making up some ground. I'm going to keep it for tomorrow. Get another pop. We'll be back in the green, and then we can add to that position and roll the next week. If we get a pop tomorrow, we pass above the highs here, 79.31. They'll be adding for next week. But right now, you can roll the next week or the week after, and then for all you know, USO goes down for whatever reason. So right now, we'll just keep it as it is, the 77 as it is. At least we got some premium in it. I mean, you look at it right here. USO, we got some premium in it, and here it is. We don't need this. 80, we got 50 cents, so we still got money in it. This doesn't make sense, by the way. Something is wrong here. Yeah. It's not showing correctly. We have more than 50 cents. But anyways, I'll keep it as it is, the short answer. Mav, you talked about being bullish PG yesterday in the brief. Call options or the stock? Call options, because the stock has already performed pretty good, and it has earnings coming out, so I wouldn't buy it before earnings. This is a call on a falling wedge breaking out. Now it looks kind of stalling here. You cut loss, by the way, if we take the lows from yesterday, 168. So if you trade below 168, right now we're 168.62. So why don't you wait till tomorrow? If this ends up being, let's say, a bull flag and it begins to break out before earnings, then you can buy the calls. But remember, you have this catalyst right here. It's going to make the premiums also too expensive. So if you must go with the staples, they're all going to react the same way. So maybe you want to go with something that doesn't have earnings coming out soon. Coke has one coming out soon. I would honestly wait till tomorrow, because I think tomorrow we'll have the TLT moving up and yields moving down. Let's see how they're going to react. All of the yield sensitive category. And then you can enter the calls and puts. We'll do a morning brief on it right away after the PPI. So I think you can wait. My advice is wait. Max Payne, David Farmer, Max Payne for NVIDIA tomorrow is 124. Yeah, but that's the bullshit Max Payne. I'm giving you the real Max Payne for the market maker. It ain't 24. Okay, the Max Payne is probably 135 or 130 max. So we'll look at that tomorrow. But it's probably 135 for 130. My 2 cents. They pull us back to retest the lows here at 130 flattish, and they're going to try to close it in or around 130. Not too far, not down, not too far up. So it's going to be around 130, the Max Payne. I know there are websites that say, oh, the Max Payne, they calculate it based on things that the market maker doesn't really look at. I know it is the least a day delayed data, but gotcha. I have the 130, 125 puts for tomorrow. It was a lotto sizzling or sizing, lotto sizing. Okay. I think that if you have the 130, 125 for tomorrow, keep it. I would keep it, because you go down 130, 131, at least you'll make some out of it, and you close it right away. So if you open gapping down tomorrow, I would close it right away. Mav, do you see more downside with Apple? Question with a question. Do you see more upside coming in the VIX or not? If you see more upside coming in the VIX, I think Apple pulls back. Because again, tick by tick. It ain't the movement, okay? Some folks thinking about this the wrong way, the movement. No, it's tick by tick. See that big tick down? Translating into a tick higher in Apple. It's tick by tick. So right now, do we see more VIX buying? If we see more VIX buying, then I think that Apple goes down. If we don't see hedging, then I think Apple continues to go higher if these hedges are taken off the table. So the geopolitics matter for Apple in a weird way, that the algorithmic way, that if something happens, the geopolitics overnight, the VIX goes higher and Apple goes down just by default. So Apple is really tricky right now. I would not open new puts. As I said in the stream 2 days ago, or earlier in the week, I closed my puts at a loss. But you have to be a big boy and take it, because we got the break, then we got the reversal of the break. So I had to take it, and next day we got a pop here, a big pop. So I'm glad that I did it. Am I going to open new ones? No, I got to see 223.50 being taken out again. And better yet, just plug in the 50 days moving average, because that's the algorithmic line. 223.20. If that's taken out, then I'll be adding puts again. Not right now, though. Mav, I feel, here we go, Craig, I feel pretty confident of the Apple 222.5 puts for next week. And, no, I got you. See, it's the same thing. I mean, you're confident 222.5. That's going to require a bigger drop for next week. Could. Not saying out of the realm of possibility, but you need a pop in the VIX. So it's something you have to answer for yourself. Do you think the VIX popping higher? And the hedging for the earnings season, yes, that's going to be a catalyst, but it's not going to cause a big pop in the VIX. What's going to cause a big pop is geopolitics. Do you think it's going to happen before the expiration date of next week? That's the question. And if you think it is, then the 22.5 would work out. Mav, do you hate McDonald's? Yes. I was looking at McDonald's. It is ridiculous. That's funny that you say that, because I was looking at McDonald's this morning and I said it's ridiculous. But do I take a short on it? No. So Home Depot, yes, we took the short. We'll stay in that put trade if you got it, the butterfly, because this one is showing a stronger sign of reversal. It's rolling over, gave us the, if we look at the here, 1 hour, gave us the bear flag, playing out as expected. So Home Depot working out. McDonald's, we're not seeing signs of reversals yet. We're just seeing stalling here. It is ridiculous that it rallied that much, but we know why. McDonald's is defensive, always going to be loved. But it could be heading for more highs here. So be careful. McDonald's, no. Home Depot, yes. Hey, man, if I get a pat on the head for special or gold star for being a perma bear. Bought Microsoft 427 put instead of the calls. Bought back on October 11th. Planning to keep October 18th. Advice appreciated. Look, I mean, you want my 2 cents? I think Microsoft will blow up when earnings come out because that's spending. That's my 2 cents. But my theory behind buying the calls is we see some short covering. You see here the 50 weeks moving average support. We see a little bit of short covering before earnings come out. And then we break that 50 weeks moving average, head and shoulder. I mean, I don't have to sell it for you here. Head and shoulder, right? Break the 50 weeks, and you're going to be down below 400. And that's it. That's the top for Microsoft. So with the puts, I would go longer dated. I don't know about the 18th. I would go longer. And you could complement, you can have 2 trades. The calls for the 18th or for the 11th if you'd like. And then you do the puts for longer. Go to November. That way the premiums are still going to hold. And like I said, this is my theory. That it rebounds a little bit into earnings, then it cracks. Okay, Mav. I got Alta Beauty, but it has not really played out. Even after the jobs data being great. You see it's still a good entry point even with the Buffett effect. Well, the Buffett effect not working out in Oxy, at least I think it will work out in time when crude goes higher, but not working out in Alta either. There was a reason behind it. I mean, it was one of the most baffling to me. I know why he bought it. Book value is cheap. But do you really want to buy a cyclical business if you have consumer spending actually weakening, consumer confidence going down, right? Forget about the fake jobs data. Look at the actual consumer in the economy. And I think that Alta right now, if it breaks that 360.58 for the week, I would say get out. Yeah, maybe Buffett will also capitulate and get out because this guy can go further to the downside. I mean, I've been to the stores recently. Ghosts, nothing. Just a bunch of employees running around, overpaid probably, over expenses for the company, and no customers. And don't forget they're paying retail. So if you're going to go cosmetics, you go something that sells online. I mean, even e.l.f. Beauty is reflecting the fact that cosmetics are getting hit. Maybe e.l.f. is a little oversold here, due for a rebound, right? But it's down 50%. If you guys got a short in this, down 50%. So I think that maybe you're better off buying e.l.f. for a rebound and getting out of Alta. Your other option, of course, is EL because that's more of a China story. And that guy right here may be forming sort of a bull flag and breaks to the upside. So get out of Alta and think about rebounding e.l.f., even though I'm short e.l.f., so I think it's going to go further to the downside. And then maybe buy Estee Lauder because that guy already crashed. And with China, it might come back. XHB put spread is currently flat. Should we take the scratch and roll it? XHB, look, we have, I think with the rejection that we got here with the candle, 120, 121.23, I think finally we're back on track here. We lost the 20, and we might be forming this inverse ABC. Let's cross our fingers and keep it as it is for now. If it works out tomorrow, we're down to 118, 119. That'll be good enough. We'll book the trade and then roll to something with longer expiration because then you're going to probably want to play the weekly chart. It's going to roll over and show bearish momentum, and then you have a trend line that should be revisited. So we'll be back at 110. So at that point, we might roll to the 115, 110 for November. But fingers crossed, I think it's going to work out tomorrow. Even with the, I know I said the TLT will rebound and then yields will drop. But again, you got to understand that XHB will factor what already happened, which is yields went higher all in all. So I think it begins to drop even more. With the jobless claims too, I mean, you have double whammy here in these kind of names. Anyhow, folks, we're just going to wrap it up right here because we have the chat session on Discord. And we want to take care of those people too. So here, last look, SPY, I mean, negative, but still within a flattish range here, and I'm not really concerned about the indices. You know, this is a VIX kind of hedging algorithmic game. I'm concerned in the individual names, and I would say grab those TLT lottos for tomorrow. And we'll probably want to do IWM puts. If you have them for November, you're okay, but just have the TZA puts for tomorrow as a hedge. Besides that, I'm not doing anything here today. USO will keep the calls. XLE, if you have them, add to them. If you have ExxonMobil, add to them because those are going to continue to go higher. China, if you're brave, you buy the calls today. If not, we do it tomorrow. We'll add this to Lauder, for example. We'll add to Win. Hopefully it goes down a little more tomorrow and then rebounds. We'll add MCHI and all of these names tomorrow in the Chinese exposure. But anyhow, folks, with that, we're going to be in the chat room, so we're not going anywhere here. We're going to go in the chat session for Discord, so stay with us. But thank you for joining us for this session. Again, apologies for the delay. We'll be back again with another live stream for tomorrow, 9:30 Friday. For now, thank you for joining us and take care.